The women's crown is up for grabs. No Tia means a new champ. And some of the best in the sport are lining up to replace her. We preview the Rogue Invitational next on Game Central. Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of Game Central presented by GameDay Ready, the only all-natural conolidine-based pain reliever in the world. The Rogue Invitational gets started this weekend, and for the first time since the competition started in 2019, the women's field is wide open. Tia Toomey has won the Rogue Invitational the past 3 years. She is not competing in 2022 as she continues to heal up from a back injury that nearly kept her out of the CrossFit Games. But Toomey has owned the Rogue Invitational regardless of its format or location. She won by 76 points over Sarah Sigmundsdottir in 2019 in Columbus. The following year, the competition was held virtually. Toomey finished ahead of Sigmundsdottir by 75 points. And last year, the Rogue Invitational moved to Dell Diamond in Round Rock, Texas, and Toomey won again, this time beating second place Annie Thorisdottir by 65 points. Toomey is not the only notable name that won't be in the field this year. Haley Adams, who is coming off a 9th place finish at the CrossFit Games and her 4th straight inside the top 10, will not be competing. And second fittest woman on earth, Mal O'Brien, has decided to skip this year. O'Brien finished in 8th place at the Rogue Invitational in 2021. Despite those absences, the women's field is still loaded with talent. 2 of the 3 podium finishers from last year are back, Annie Thorisdottir and Gabi Migala, and there are some young up-and-coming competitors to watch in Emma Lawson and Olivia Kerstetter. Kerstetter is making her individual debut after winning the 16 to 17-year-old division at the CrossFit Games in August. There certainly is no shortage of talent on the women's side at the Rogue Invitational, and there is no shortage of storylines for this weekend. With her top 5 things you should be watching at the Rogue Invitational, here's Lauren Smith.
Sean, I have no doubt that you've covered this in detail over the past couple of weeks, but I think it's worth reiterating that because the Rogue Invitational isn't featuring the likes of Tia-Clair Toomey, Mal O'Brien, Haley Adams, that this is going to be one of the most even fields that we have seen compete. And the excitement comes because we could not tell you or predict who is going to come out on top. First is the return of Annie Thorisdottir to the individual competition. Now, we know that she put most of her focus into the team division this time last season, and she returns to the Indies where she left them, the Rogue Invitational floor. This time last year, she led Tia-Clair Toomey going into the final day by 15 points. And now she did close it out in second, but in Toomey's absence, I think that probably makes her a firm favourite to take the title. But she's not going to be without some stiff competition. Can Gabi Migala and Laura Horvath take the whole thing? Europe is most definitely coming, and Laura Horvath is the only podium finisher from the CrossFit Games who is competing at Rogue, so that probably puts her right up there in the favourites category. She was 3rd at the Games, and in the 6 live competitions she's done this year, she's never come below 4th, and she's won a whole host of them. She is not the same athlete that has the demons from the Rogue Invitational that we've seen in years gone by. Laura Horvath is very much here to win. What about Gabi Migala? Now, she's closed out a recent training block in Iceland where she's been taking tips from Sarah Sigmundsdottir, if Instagram is anything to go by. Now, she said herself that after the CrossFit Games, she didn't quite achieve what she wanted to with the season. So I think this is going to be a really good and early indication of her ambitions for the year. And don't forget, she finished 3rd in last year's event and a 6th in the Games in 2021. This very much will put her in the fight for a podium. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, 17-year-old Olivia Kerstetter. She impressed massively in the Q, which is what the Rogue Invitational calls their qualifying. Now, you need to keep your eye on this teen sensation. She has 2 gold medals from the teen divisions in the CrossFit Games, and this is going to be the first time we're going to see her in an elite environment. She was competing alongside elites in the qualifiers. She won Event 4, and she kept in touching distance with Manon Agonise, who was the eventual winner the entire way through. She is an exceptionally capable young weightlifter, and honestly, I think that probably undersells it. This girl could do some serious damage. She just needs to get used to the pressure cooker environment and the mental resilience of competing at the top level, and this is going to be the first time we see this. And it could well indicate what direction she's going to go over the rest of the season, whether she sticks with the teen division or we see her in the elites. There's one woman who really paved the way for her, and that is Emma Lawson. It's mad to think that actually Emma did her first elite competition less than a year ago, especially when she's winning Rookie of the Year at the CrossFit Games and finishing 6th. She has proven herself time and time again. But the Rogue Invitational does present quite a stern new test because of its programming and very, very power-based movements, which traditionally maybe Emma isn't quite as comfortable with. And I've no doubt that we've seen Emma Lawson grow and develop as an athlete, and this competition will be a great marker to set her stall out early for next year. One story you might have missed is that of Annika Greer. She returns to live competition. Now, we've had our eyes on Annika for a couple of years after a standout performance in Wadapalooza, but for one reason or another, she's never made it to the CrossFit Games. In 2022, it was a score submission issue, which meant she dropped out of the quarterfinals. But this year, she continues her busy off-season. She's been in the Madrid Championships and she won the Can West Games. It's going to be a seriously cool weekend, and there is so much happening despite the absence of some major figures in the sport. And as I said earlier, I think it's going to make it all the more exciting.
Thank you, Lauren. The Rogue Invitational will certainly be a lot of fun to watch, and you can watch it all on Rogue's website or on their YouTube channel. It gets started on October 28th at the Dell Diamond in Round Rock, Texas. And remember, for the second straight year, there is also a strongman competition featuring some of the best in that sport, and the CrossFit legends will also be on display once again. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Game Central presented by GameDay Ready. You can eliminate muscle aches and joint pain with all-natural conolidine-based pain relief from GameDay Ready. Now 50% off when you visit www.crossfit.gamedayready.com. And remember, every single episode of Miles to Madison is available now on the CrossFit Games YouTube channel. Be sure you check those out. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland, and enjoy the Rogue Invitational.